a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Maori. Let's get started. Our top story tonight focuses on what's happening in Bangladesh. Has Muhammad Yunus surrendered to the most radical fundamentalists and extremists who believe in terrorism? We tell you why this question is being asked and how the developments have far-reaching implications. And here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you all about the mystery of the F-16 crash in Ukraine. This is a story you do not want to miss. Is competition killing students? Is academic pressure driving students to the edge in India? There has been a significant rise in student suicide rates. We tell you all about this, and we also tell you about the Boeing Starliner, which will be returning empty, and what that means for Sunita Williams and her colleague who are stranded in space. All this and more coming up. Has Muhammad Yunus surrendered to the most radical fundamentalists and extremists who believe in terrorism? He has been giving legitimacy and freedom to leaders and cadre of organizations who have once had their target as a dangerous objective. For them, the export of terrorism is an act of political and personal faith. So the question remains, under the guise of neutrality, is this government steering Bangladesh towards a more dangerous path, one that could have severe repercussions for India? And what is the real agenda behind the decisions this new leadership is making? And what does that mean for India? The Bangladesh interim government's recent decisions prompt these questions, especially the decision to release Jaish-e-Mohammed Rahmani, the chief of the Ansarallah Bangla team, on parole on Monday, that India is likely to perceive as a massive red flag. Rahmani is the leader of a terror organization with deep ties to the Al-Qaeda. As per reports, the ABT outfit has been relentlessly working to establish a jihadi network across the subcontinent region, especially in the northeastern parts of India, with the help of sleeper cells. And so the decision to free such a figure is not just concerning, but rather alarming for India. Why is this government, which openly claims to uphold peace and justice, making moves that could destabilize the entire region? As per reports, ABT under Rahmani's leadership has been actively involved in plotting against India. 2 ABT operatives were arrested in Guwahati earlier this year, allegedly with the intent to spread the outfit's terror network into India's northeastern states. This, however, is not just an isolated incident. It may just be part of a broader and deeply troubling pattern. Rahmani's release comes on the heels of a violent jailbreak in Bangladesh earlier this month. As per reports, on the 6th of August, over 500 inmates escaped a high-security prison in northern Bangladesh's Sherpur district on the 6th of August following an armed attack by a mob. Among those who allegedly escaped was high-ranking ABT leader Ikramul Haq. As per reports, Haq, the India operations head of ABT, was arrested last year with the help of Indian intelligence. His escape, along with Rahmani's release, may signal a deliberate weakening of the security framework that kept these extremists in check. So is this interim government deliberately turning a blind eye to the threat posed by these groups? Or worse, are they complicit in their resurgence? Remember, the previous government under Sheikh Hasina was staunch against anti-India forces. Under Sheikh Hasina, there was a crackdown on anti-India elements, but this created resentment among certain factions within the country. Factions that are now gaining power and influence under the interim government. A case in point comes just from earlier this week. As per reports, the Deepto Shopot sculpture built in the memory of police officers killed in the terror attack at Holy Artisan Bakery in 2016 has been damaged and replaced with a poster of banned terrorist outfit Hizb ut-Tahrir. Reportedly on Tuesday night, broken pieces of the vandalized sculpture were found scattered on the ground along with the poster of Hizb ut-Tahrir. Now, just to recap here, on the 1st of July 2016, young Islamist terrorists carried out a terror attack on Holy Artisan Bakery, an eatery especially popular among foreigners. 5 young attackers, armed with pistols, submachine guns, sharp weapons, grenades, stormed the cafe and started an overnight siege. Later, they slaughtered and shot dead 20 diners, including 9 Italians, 7 Japanese, a US citizen, and an Indian. 2 police officers were also killed in the attack as they tried to reach the assailants inside the cafe. In memory of these 2 officers, the Dhaka police had inaugurated this sculpture in 2018. Ever since the end of the Awami League government earlier this month, many structures across Bangladesh have either been vandalized or destroyed completely, including those of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman and the ones built in the memory of the Liberation War. In 2009, the Awami League had banned Hizb ut-Tahrir. The outlawed Hizb ut-Tahrir has been holding public rallies since Hasina fled the country. Hizb ut-Tahrir has openly spoken about establishing an Islamic caliphate in Bangladesh. Now, with a government that seems more sympathetic to their cause, the question arising is that are we seeing a resurgence of these dangerous ideologies, including pro-Jamaat and pro-Pakistan groups who have long viewed India with suspicion? And let's not forget, these developments are taking place amid growing ties between Bangladesh and Pakistan. During Hasina's tenure, relations between Dhaka and Islamabad were strained. But now, with the change in leadership, we are seeing a renewed effort to rebuild the ties. The diplomatic shift could very well pose a potential threat to India's security. Reports state that Bangladesh is set to receive a substantial shipment of defense materials from Pakistan starting next month, including 40,000 rounds of ammunition and explosives like RDX and high-intensity projectiles. This shipment is nearly 4 times higher than last year's order. Is this a clear signal that Bangladesh may be aligning itself with forces that are openly hostile to India? You see, the implications for India are profound. The northeastern states, already vulnerable to due to their geographical disadvantages, are at particular risk. Remember, the Siliguri corridor, also known as the Chicken Neck, is as narrow as 20 kilometers in certain parts. This corridor links India's 7 northeastern states and is surrounded by Bangladesh, Nepal, China, and Bhutan. Insurgent groups in this region have long used Bangladesh as a safe haven, but under Sheikh Hasina, there was cooperation to root out these elements. And now, with the interim government seemingly turning a blind eye, or worse, actively facilitating the resurgence of these groups, the security situation in the northeast could worsen rapidly.
My God.
India may also have to contend with the resurgence of Jamaat-e-Islami, Bangladesh's largest Islamist political party, which has historically opposed India's interests. This party, remember, fought against Indian forces during the Bangladesh Liberation War. It is once again gaining influence under the new government. There is a real risk that Jamaat and other extremist factions will reassert their power, further destabilizing the region. So can India trust the interim government in Bangladesh to act in a way that ensures regional stability? Or should it start preparing for a more adversarial relationship? The latest developments and the growing anti-India sentiment all point to a disturbing trend. Regardless, one thing is clear: India cannot afford to be complacent. The stakes are way too high. Bangladesh's interim government may just have shown its hand, and now it might be India's time to show its resolve. Our next story is about the mystery of the F-16 crash in Ukraine. A month after receiving the most advanced fourth-generation F-16 fighter jet, Ukraine has lost the warplane, along with the pilot flying this coveted jet. So what really happened? Just 2 days before the incident, Ukrainian pilots flew the American-made warplanes in combat for the first time. The fighter jet went down on Monday when Russia launched a major missile and drone barrage at Ukraine. But you see, jets are not supposed to just crash from the sky. Was it shot down by Russians? Was it a technical issue? Was it pilot error? Or did friendly fire from Ukrainian air defenses bring the jet down? Details about the crash are scarce. Ukraine has not disclosed the cause of the crash, but all possibilities are currently under investigation. Here's what has happened so far. Earlier this month, a batch of the US-made F-16 fighter jets was delivered to Ukraine after months of appeal by the war-battered country. On Monday, Ukraine began using the coveted jets for the first time in war, as Russia mounted a massive aerial assault. On Tuesday, Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that the jets had seen action during a massive Russian missile attack the day before. By Thursday evening, Ukraine's general staff said that contact was lost with one of the planes as it followed a target. In fact, the statement said, and I'm quoting now, "The plane crashed and the pilot died." And now the Defense Ministry in Kiev has established a special commission to investigate the crash. You see, this is the first reported loss of an F-16 in Ukraine. F-16s are the most sophisticated weapon that the US-led coalition has supplied Ukraine with in its war with Russia. The White House and Pentagon had resisted offering them earlier, fearing that they would be seen as an escalation by Russian President Vladimir Putin. Before US allies supplied the fighter jets to Ukraine, pilots were trained to fly them for months in the United States. At least 6 of the warplanes are believed to have been delivered to Ukraine. Now, what are the authorities really saying? Like I mentioned earlier, the Ukrainian Defense Ministry has opened an investigation into the crash. In a Facebook post, the Ukrainian Air Force identified the pilot as Colonel Alexei Moonfish Mess. They said he saved Ukrainians from deadly Russian missiles at the cost of his own life. Moonfish, along with fellow Ukrainian pilot Andriy Pilshchikov, made a very public visit to the US in June 2022. He was part, basically, of the Ukrainian delegation. pressing American lawmakers and the media to send F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine. Both continue to serve as public faces for Ukraine's battle to secure its airspace. But Juice was killed in an August 2023 accident. And now Moonfish has died in the crash. US congressmen have expressed grief at the news of his death. On the platform X, formerly Twitter, former US congressman Adam Kinzinger has said, and I'm quoting, "When I met with Ukraine pilots, Juice and Moonfish, I had a sick feeling they would not make it through the war. They fought like hell for Ukraine and the F-16. But here's where the plot thickens. Today, a Ukrainian lawmaker, Mariana Bezuglaya, accused the Ukrainian military of trying to downplay the loss of the F-16 jet, saying basically that it may have been destroyed by friendly fire. In a post on Telegram, Bezuglaya said, and I'm quoting, "According to my information, the F-16 piloted by Alexei Moonfish Mess was hit by a Patriot anti-aircraft missile system due to discoordination between units." She continued, I'm quoting further, "War is war. Such episodes are possible, but a culture of lies leads to a management system for military decisions that does not improve based on truthful, consistently collected analytics, but worsens and even collapses, as seen in the Pokrovsk direction." She was basically referring to Russia's recent advance in the city of Pokrovsk. So what really happened? What caused the crash? If what Bezuglaya is saying is indeed true, it would be a setback, an embarrassment for Ukraine, to say the least. The country, remember, has been urging the US to supply the jets for months now. Russia had said that the American-made jets will not make a difference on the battlefield. In fact, Russia has promised that they will destroy the NATO jets, just like the other Western hardware provided to Ukraine since the start of the war. That's what their position has been. What we are hearing also is that a Russian company has offered a reward of 15 million rubles, that's $170,000, to whomsoever shoots down the first F-16 in combat. No one has stepped forward to claim the reward so far. The question is Ukraine getting more F-16s? Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands, Norway, all NATO members have committed to providing Ukraine with more than 60 of these planes. However, that number is dwarfed by the Russian jet fighter fleet, which is around 10 times larger. Ukraine needs at least 130 F-16 fighter jets to neutralize Russian air power. We are not saying that, Ukraine is. But the question is, could the F-16s actually change the course of the war? Military experts do not sound very optimistic. They say that the F-16s in itself will not be game changers, given Russia's massive air force and sophisticated air defense systems. However, Ukrainian officials welcomed the jets as offering an opportunity to basically hit back at Russia's air superiority. When it comes to the question of what makes the F-16 so special, here's what you need to know. The F-16s are among the most advanced fourth-generation fighter jets. They can fly at speeds of up to twice the speed of sound and have a maximum range of over 2,000 miles. That's 3,200 kilometers. They are also capable of firing modern weapons used by NATO countries. But what good is an advanced jet if it's not fully utilized in war? For a long time, Ukrainian officials have insisted that Western countries must lift the restrictions on what Ukraine is allowed to target inside Russia using the long-range weapons they have provided. And so the loss of this F-16 jet comes at a crucial moment, as the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has renewed his pleas, urging Ukraine's Western allies to untie his hands when it comes to deciding what to strike on Russian soil. Although it's not proven yet, any possibility that the F-16 was shot down by Ukrainian air defenses due to friendly fire would definitely shake the confidence of Western allies. After all, if NATO weapons are not safe in Ukrainian hands, can they be trusted to use them to strike deeper into Russia? Can NATO leaders afford to look the other way while that happens? Russia, remember, has long insisted that Ukraine's use of long-range Western weapons against Russian territory would cross a red line. Any miscalculation on Ukraine's part could escalate the conflict and drag the NATO into a direct war with Russia. Can the NATO afford that, is the question. And the answer to that question depends on whether they trust Ukraine to handle their equipment with care. Until then, we will just have to wait and watch. Our next story is about Israel's war. No, not the one it is fighting against Hamas, but the one it is fighting within. That's right, the war within Israel. This is the story of a cabinet that is divided. A divided cabinet during a war is definitely not a great scenario. In fact, it is the opposite of what an ideal scenario would be in such a situation. Battle lines are drawn within the Israel cabinet, with the rift between the Israel defense minister and the prime minister no longer a secret. In the latest, the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, has reportedly presented the security cabinet with a document he drew up in recent days, urging a hostage ceasefire deal and detailing the potentially dire consequences for Israel of a failure to finalize such an agreement. Channel 12 has reported that the document represents the view of the Israeli security establishment, adding that Gallant had shared it with Prime Minister Netanyahu and several other top officials in the days leading up to the security cabinet meeting. And reports say Gallant is telling ministers they must push for a deal or face imminent danger of a multi-front war. Yes, a multi-front war. In fact, the differences between Gallant and Netanyahu have been obvious and out there for a while. Remember earlier, according to Israeli media reports, Gallant had stated that the hostage deal is being stalled due to Israel, and that while the defense establishment backs the deal, there was a lot of nonsensical talk going on about total victory. And then Netanyahu's office issued a statement rebuking Gallant, saying that when Gallant adopts an anti-Israel narrative, he harms the chances of reaching a hostage deal. The statement also mentioned that Israel's total victory is still aimed at elimination of Hamas and bringing back the remaining hostages, and that this obligates everyone, including the defense minister. Following Netanyahu's counter, Gallant had taken to social media site X. In a statement on X, Gallant had not confirmed or denied whether he had labeled Netanyahu's goal of total victory as nonsense. He had emphasized that he is determined to achieve the war's objectives, which include dismantling Hamas and securing the release of hostages. Remember, Gallant last year had urged the Prime Minister to suspend a controversial plan to overhaul the Israeli judiciary, which became a major flashpoint. The fact is that there is a growing rift within Netanyahu's cabinet. The timing of these differences could not have been worse. With this infighting within the Israeli cabinet out there for the world to see, in the middle of a war, as West Asia teeters on the brink of a wider catastrophic war. If there's one story we've come across every day over the last few days, it's the story of violence against women. Each story came with the same reminder of just how unsafe women are. Students of an engineering college in India's Andhra Pradesh spent the last night protesting. They found a hidden camera inside the women's hostel toilet. Who planted the camera? How long has it been there? Were clips leaked? The women of this college are demanding justice. A senior student from the boys' hostel has been arrested. His mobile phone and laptop have been seized. Horror stories are also coming out of film industries in southern India. 2 FIRs have been registered against Indian actor Jayasuriya. He has been accused of sexual assault, reportedly. Another actor has been accused of raping a female actor when she was all of 19. In fact, a popular filmmaker, Ranjit, has also been accused of misbehaving with a female actor. On Wednesday, the 28th of August, a disturbing video was posted on the platform X. It showed 2 women being harassed by a group of men. It happened in Uttarakhand's Haldwani. The car in which the women were traveling was forced to slow down by a car in front, and then another car caught up with them, hurling abuses at the women. Take a look. One of the women narrated her plight on the social media platform. Let me just read out portions of her post. I'm quoting. 2 cars full of 10 men tried to block our way. This happened for 25 minutes. The first time it happened, we escaped. The second time, they blocked us completely by opening all car doors, quote unquote. This, let me remind you, happened in a public place. Were the miscreants not scared of the consequences? Or have they been emboldened by a lack of deterrence? On Tuesday, the 27th of August, an incident occurred at a school in Maharashtra. A sanitation worker showed pornographic content to a minor schoolgirl on his phone. The incident was caught on CCTV. Reportedly, the girl told her parents about what had happened at the school, and a complaint was lodged with the local police. The man has now been terminated from service. A day before, on Monday, the 26th of August, reports emerged of another rape. A 19-year-old nursing student was raped, allegedly, by an auto driver in Maharashtra. The student was returning home from college. The auto driver allegedly offered her water. The water was spiked, and the woman lost consciousness, as per reports. The auto driver then took her to a secluded place and allegedly raped her. Such is the state of affairs that earlier this week, India's president had to make an appeal to the country to ensure that women are safe. In an article titled, "Women's Safety, Enough is Enough," President Murmu wrote, and I'm quoting here, "Social prejudices as well as some customs and practices have always opposed the expansion of women's rights. This is a rather deplorable mindset. This mindset sees the female as a lesser human being, less powerful, less capable, less intelligent. Those who share such views then go further and see the female as an object. It is this objectification of women by a few that is behind the crimes against women," quote unquote. India's president called for introspection to uncover the roots of the malaise. Actually, it is high time we ask ourselves, how have we reached this point? Women across age groups, across professions are being harassed, catcalled, sexually abused. They are being raped, killed. And it is even happening in a part of India that has been central to social reforms, to women's education, West Bengal. Remember, it was from here that India's social reformer, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, fought for equal rights of women. He fought for the abolition of sati. This was a practice where a widow was burnt alive in the husband's funeral pyre. In an essay in 1818, He wrote, and I'm quoting, "Society has no right to end the life of a living woman." Yet, in the same part, on the 9th of August this year, a postgraduate trainee doctor was found dead at her workplace, a state-run government hospital in Kolkata. The doctor was allegedly raped and killed in Kolkata's state-run hospital. India's Central Bureau of Investigation is probing the case. An accused has been arrested. But you see, those in positions of power in the state of West Bengal are being accused of covering up. They are being asked tough questions. Why were the parents initially told that their daughter died by suicide? Did that really happen? Was there an attempt to tamper the crime scene? Also, what will it take and how long will it take for women to feel safe? For nearly 36 months, a 3.5-year-old girl hailing from Thane district in India has been separated from her parents and placed in foster care in Germany, sparking concerns and diplomatic efforts aimed at bringing her back to India. As per reports, India's Ministry of External Affairs is now actively working to secure the return of the girl. Our next report getting you more.
This is the story of Ariha Shah, a 3.5-year-old girl hailing from Thane district in India, who has been separated from her parents and placed in foster care in Germany. As per reports, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has assured that the Indian government is expediting legal processes to facilitate the return of Ariha Shah and reuniting her with her parents. Naresh Mahaske, the local member of parliament from Thane, highlighted the situation, noting that the Shah family has in fact been enduring a distressing separation for an extended period. Ariha's parents, originally from Meera Bhayandar in Thane district, have been battling to regain custody of their daughter since an incident led to her being taken into foster care. In a letter dated August 16, Dr. S. Jaishankar detailed the ongoing efforts by the MEA to resolve the situation. The minister emphasized that the Indian government has been in continuous dialogue with German authorities, pressing for Ariha's return. These efforts included personal intervention by Dr. Jaishankar himself, where he stressed to his German counterpart that Ariha's long-term well-being would be best served by raising her in her native socio-cultural environment in India. Reportedly, as part of these diplomatic efforts, the MEA and the Indian Embassy in Berlin have been actively working to ensure that Ariha remains connected to her Indian roots. Embassy officials have been introducing her to Indian culture by organizing visits to temples and providing resources on Jainism, Indian festivals, and other cultural and religious traditions. Additionally, efforts are being made to facilitate language instruction in Gujarati or Hindi for Ariha so that she remains familiar with her linguistic heritage. The MEA has also secured regular consular access to Ariha, allowing Indian officials to monitor her well-being closely. Ariha Shah's story began in Berlin, Germany, where she was born in 2021. Her father, Bhavesh Shah, a software engineer from Gujarat, had moved to Berlin in 2018 with his wife, Dhara. When Ariha was just 7 months old, she was placed in foster care by German authorities on September 23, 2021. The authorities alleged that the parents had abused the child, leading to a series of legal battles and eventual separation. The incident that led to Ariha's removal from her parents' custody was reportedly an accident. According to Dhara Shah, Ariha's grandmother had visited them in Berlin shortly after her birth and had accidentally caused an injury to Ariha's outer genital area. When the injury was noticed at a hospital, German authorities were reportedly alerted, suspecting it to be a case of sexual assault. This led to the immediate placement of Ariha in foster care, and her parents were only permitted to visit her once every fortnight. Though the charges of sexual assault were eventually dropped, the German authorities continued to hold the parents responsible for negligence. The German Youth Welfare Office pursued a civil custody case, seeking to terminate the Shah's parental rights and maintain custody of Ariha. Currently, Ariha remains in a facility in Berlin designed for children with special needs.
Is competition killing students? Is academic pressure driving students to the edge? Today, a troubling headline caught our attention. In India, there has been a significant rise in student suicide rates. According to the National Crime Records Bureau, student suicides have surged alarmingly. The report, titled Student Suicides, an Epidemic Sweeping India, quote unquote, reveals that while overall suicides have increased by 2% annually, student suicides have doubled that rate, growing by 4% each year. This is a crisis, and the true extent of this crisis may be even worse. You see, over the past 2 decades, the rate of student suicides has consistently climbed, surpassing the rise in overall suicides. In 2022, male students accounted for 53% of all student suicides, despite a 6% decrease in male suicides between 2021 and 2022. Female student suicides saw a troubling 7% increase. Compiled by the IC3 Institute, a volunteer-based organization supporting high schools globally, the report basically highlights that states like Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh account for 1/3 of all student suicides in India. Southern states and union territories contribute 29% of these cases. Rajasthan, which is known for its intense academic pressure, ranked 10th. Here on Gravitas, we have frequently discussed the severe stress at educational hubs like Kota. It's important to note here that the NCRB's data is based on police-recorded first information reports, or FIRs. The truth is, the actual number of student suicides may be even more than what is being reported. It's because of the unfortunate social stigma, also the legal complexities. Despite the 2017 Mental Health Care Act decriminalizing suicide attempts for individuals with mental illness, the effects of criminalization continue to hinder accurate reporting, especially in rural areas. The report's findings call for an urgent need to address mental health challenges within educational institutions. The stress from competitive examinations, the pressure to excel, and high expectations from educational institutions and society take a severe toll on students' mental health. This issue is often not openly discussed, leaving students to suffer from acute stress and depression without adequate support. Experts suggest shifting focus from competition to fostering overall well-being. It raises serious questions. How can educators, parents, policymakers create a supportive environment that reduces the risk of student suicides? In what ways can the 2017 Mental Health Care Act be better utilized to address suicide and mental health issues? Schools can do more, colleges can do more, the society at large can do more to understand the source of anxiety and the aspirations of students. After all, what hope can there be in a society if its youth are losing the battle against mental health issues? What hope can there be for a country if its youth is being crushed by the pressure for academic excellence? In tragic developments for New Zealand Maoris, the tribe's king passed away early this morning. Our next report gets you the complete story. Take a look.
New Zealand's Maori king Tuheitia died peacefully on Friday at the age of 69. He'd been recovering from heart surgery, according to a spokesperson, and his death came just days after he celebrated the 18th anniversary of his coronation. Local media say he'll be taken to his home meeting place, Tarangawaewae Marae. His tangi hanga, or funeral rites, are expected to last at least 5 days. The movement to establish a Maori monarch, or kingitanga, began in 1858 in an attempt to unite the indigenous tribes of New Zealand under a single leader to strengthen their resistance to colonialism. The monarch is considered the paramount chief of several tribes, or iwi, but is not affiliated with all of them. The Maori king's role in New Zealand is largely ceremonial, with no judicial or legal authority.
Kia ora, good morning everybody.
New Zealand Prime Minister Christopher Luxon said the country will mourn King Tuheitia.
Our country will be in mourning. He was a fantastic king. He was king for 18 years. He did a lot to strengthen the kingitanga, and we're going to miss him sadly.
According to Radio New Zealand, heads of tribes associated with the King movement will appoint a new leader on the day of King Tuheitia's funeral.
Now imagine this. You are at your workplace, you are craving a cup of coffee. What do? I know it's a no-brainer, you go and get that cup of coffee, right? But what if you are unable to do that? What if your workplace will not allow that? Let me also ask you this, how often do you go on coffee breaks while at work? Now let me tell you the reason why we are asking these questions. As per reports, the managing director of an Australian mining company, during a financial results presentation, has expressed a desire to hold staff captive all day long, forbidding them from leaving the office, even for something as simple as a cup of coffee. Yes, you heard that right. What is the strategy according to him? Lock the doors and load the office with enough amenities to keep employees from ever wanting to or being allowed to leave. That's what reports are saying. Reportedly, a restaurant, 9 psychologists on staff, a gym, and even a daycare center that can accommodate over 100 children, designed to ensure that employees stay glued to their desks. Reportedly, the managing director goes on to suggest that the entire mining industry should adopt this approach, arguing that working from home or even taking a short break to grab coffee is way too costly. He claims that the industry cannot afford to have people working fewer days but getting paid for a full week. The thing is, numerous studies show that happy, well-rested employees are more productive. Aren't the quality of work and employee well-being closely linked? Let's also talk about what's happening in the UK. As per reports, the UK government is exploring the introduction of a 4-day work week for full-time employees. This move could potentially allow the workers to compress their hours, working longer days but fewer of them, giving them more time to rest, recharge and live their lives. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer calls it the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation. Not everyone in the UK, however, is on board with this approach. The Conservative Party argues that reducing the work week will harm businesses and reduce productivity. They warn that it will make doing business more expensive. As per reports, the details of the proposal are expected later this year in the UK Parliament as a law to create a new package of workers' rights. And by now, we are quite familiar about how the Boeing Starliner's 8-day space mission has gone on. But there is some progress. Starliner is returning next week. But there's a catch here. it will return empty. What about the crew and why is it returning empty? Our next report getting you these answers.
Boeing's new Starliner spacecraft lifted off from Earth on June 5th. By all means, Starliner and its crew, Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, were to return by June 15th. But then came a string of delays, owing to technical issues with the craft. Finally, there is a return date. Starliner will return by 6th September. That's next weekend. But here's the catch. Yes, the craft will return, but it will be empty. Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore will remain in the space for a total of 8 months. That's till February next year. Astronaut missions to the space station are pre-planned and meticulously scheduled. Typically, astronauts visit the space station for 6-month-long missions. On completion, they return, and the next crew takes over. This is a constant cycle. Therefore, the next scheduled ride back to Earth for Williams and Wilmore will be in February 2025. But that's where the irony lies. Williams and Wilmore flew to this space to test a Boeing craft. That Boeing craft has now let them down. Boeing crew will now be brought back by arch-rival SpaceX's craft. This only adds to Boeing's mounting woes. So here's why Boeing's craft is returning empty. Firstly, NASA has decided to take abundant precaution. It has ruled out the possibility of Williams and Wilmore returning on the Starliner. This is simply because the craft hasn't had a great run so far. Sure, this is a test flight, but it has had a range of issues, from steering thruster malfunctions to helium leaks. Here's why the Starliner is returning next week. Firstly, the Starliner cannot remain docked to the International Space Station forever. The space station only has a limited number of docking ports. Docking ports are where the craft come and attach themselves to transfer crew and supplies to the space station. Think of it like a door of a plane. So obviously, the slot has to be cleared. In recent weeks, Boeing has updated the Starliner's software to ensure that it can automatically detach from the space station and perform maneuvers to return to Earth. Starliner has done this in the past, but this time, if the Starliner doesn't reach Earth safely next week, this will further dent Boeing's image. Overstaying in space involves real risks. Prolonged space stays can weaken the muscle in the body. They can reduce bone density. Longer space stay could also mean longer time to adjust back to the conditions on Earth after return.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gampir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching. Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gampir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
This week on the West Asia Post, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar hold the key to a ceasefire in Gaza. But what does a truce in Gaza mean for either of them? After Hezbollah and Israeli forces exchange deadly fire, what is happening in Lebanon? WION gets you the ground reality. Also on the show, Iran has opened its doors for nuclear talks with the US. Washington believes Tehran is postured to launch an attack on Israeli territory. Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION. World is One.
As the 81st edition of the Venice Film Festival kicks off, we tell you everything about the movies in competition this year. Find out why luxury brands are hiring Indian A-listers as their ambassadors. And know some lesser-known facts about Stree 2-star Rajkumar Rao. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times only on WION eClub.
Famine hit Sudan as peace talks fall short yet again. US brokered truce talks collapse after mediators failed to convince the military to come to the negotiation table. South Africa is committed to strengthening bilateral trade and investment with India, says its trade minister, amid launch of the India-South Africa Chamber of Commerce. And one of the success stories of world cricket, Namibia, a country with a population of just 2.6 million with limited facilities and only 9 cricket grounds. That's this week on World of Africa at these times on WION.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
This week on Take It Out, we tell you about a new scam that can steal your money. We explain how you can prevent chatbots from collecting your data. And we show you how AI is revolutionizing pet care. This and more on WION World is One at these times.
On Wings this week, a unique spot in Rajasthan's desert that provides a sustainable respite from the heat. We also highlight how foreign tourist arrivals to India is at the highest levels since the pandemic. North Korea, a unique destination, might open for tourism again in December. Can it become the ultimate adventure? Watch Wings this weekend on WION. World is One.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide, because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
As the 81st edition of the Venice Film Festival kicks off, we tell you everything about the movies in competition this year. Find out why luxury brands are hiring Indian A-listers as their ambassadors. And know some lesser-known facts about Stree 2-star Rajkumar Rao. All this and much more with me, Isha Hanspal, at these times only on WION E-Club.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years, from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at yoursarthi@such.org.in.
Hello and welcome. You're watching WION World is One. My name is Mohammed Saleh.